Hello, I am going to show you how to format a document in MLA style. My name is Joel Olson and I'm doing this for Miss Thuft's class. I have here some text that is actually the same text that is on the written sheet that accompanies this screencast. And I'm going to go through the elements and show you how to do the particular formatting tasks that are spelled out. So you'll have text in your document, and you'll either format it after you've written it or set up the formatting prior to writing it. Either way, doesn't really matter. It's easier for me to show you using this text that I've already written. So the first thing that we need to do is to check the margins. Now I'm using a Mac version of Microsoft Word, and in order to check the margins in Microsoft Word in this version, we go to Layout, and you can see right here that my margins are set top, left, bottom, and right are all set at 1 inch, and that's where you want to go. You want to make sure with an MLA document that you set all the margins to 1 inch. If you need to change them, you could click here and you see that I have some custom settings, a narrow, moderate, wide, etc. So depending on what you're doing, you can change the margins. A lot of times the margins are already set to 1 inch, so you may not have to change them at all, but if you do, this is how you do it in this version of Word. So my margins are already set at 1 inch. The next thing that I want to do is make sure that I'm using the right font. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab. This is set to Calibri 10-point. Calibri is a sans serif font. We want to have a serif font, and typically it's Times New Roman. So we'd highlight everything. Okay, I've highlighted everything in the document, and then I'll go up to the font selector area. I'll choose Times New Roman, and then I want to change it to 12-point. Okay, it should be Times New Roman 12 point. So there, now I have the correct font and the correct size. I have 1 inch margins all the way around. The next thing we want to do while we have everything highlighted is to make sure that it's double spaced. You don't have to do it in this order, but it's handy when you have it all highlighted to do these things all at once. So the tab here that shows the arrows going up and down and the lines, and line spacing comes up when you hover over it. We want to select 2. Everything should be double spaced in MLA style from top to bottom. So we'll just kind of scroll through and take a look at what things look like now. Looks good, double spaced from top to bottom. Next thing, you need to insert your last name and the page number in the header. And in my particular version of Word, if I hold the cursor over the header area and double click, it will open for me. It's set to be right justified, and if you look at the sample, you'll see what right justification looks like. My last name and the page number is all the way over on the right hand side in the header. Now once you're in the header, there are a couple different ways to do this. If you go to the Insert menu, which is sometimes up above, another way to do it is to go to Layout, Page Number, Document Elements, Page Number. So I have the cursor in that spot. I'm going to click that. It'll alignment right. Click OK. There's my page number. Now before that I need to type my last name. Olson and then 1. Okay. You'll notice that Olson is in Times New Roman, but 1 is not. So I want to click on that page number, highlight it, and change that to Times New Roman also. Go back to the home font, home area, Times, select 12, and then I have Olson and the page number 1. Now when I insert the page number that way, you'll notice that it automatically advances the page number. If you just type the number in there after your name, it will say page 1 on every page. So it's important to insert it in that way. So we have the header taken care of. The next thing we need to do is put in our name and title block. So the name, I call it the name block. It always starts in the main part of the document at the upper left. The first thing that you will type will be your name, and I'm typing my name, Joel Olson, and this is also double spaced. The next thing that you type is the name of your instructor. In this case would be Ms. Thuft. Then you want to have the title of the course, and our course is ENG 670, and then the date, and this would be the date that the paper is written or printed or published or whatever. Try to have it be the most current date possible. So we'll use 15 July 2016. It's all right in MLA style to do a more traditional July 15th, 2016. Again, it's just important to be consistent with how you use the dates. I prefer this because it looks a little bit more formal. So after the date, add a space, and this is where the title will go. Now the title is one of two things that are centered in an MLA document. The other thing is the works cited heading on the last page. So to center your title, you can put the cursor up over the centering text icon there, or button, and type the title of your essay. Oops. It's just a generic title that I decided to use. Notice that I capitalize the important words and do not capitalize the smaller joining words in the title. So one common mistake is to forget to go back to left justification after you centered the title. Sometimes students will turn in papers, everything is centered from top to bottom. That's incorrect. So make sure when you get, after you do the title, you go to your first line and then click this button here so that it's left justified after that. And you'll notice that when I added my name block, I lost one of my indents. So each paragraph should be indented 1 tab space. And you can see that corresponds to about 1/2 inch on the ruler up above. All right, so we've taken care of a lot of this. I have an example of an in-text citation. If you'll notice on the printed version that you have, one of the, let's see, the third paragraph from the end, you must use in-text citations to give credit to your sources. In MLA style, you can say parenthetical reference, you can call it an in-text citation. There is technically a difference between the two, but for our purposes here, we're just going to call them one or the other. This area right here, I'll highlight it for you. This is an in-text citation or a parenthetical reference, and it's called parenthetical because it has parentheses around it. And what I've given you here is a direct quote from the Purdue OWL website, and I've shown you that, you know, for a direct quote, you use quotation marks around the words because it's taken word for word from the original source. And then you need to show where that came from by using a parenthetical reference. The parenthetical reference, Russell, Brizzi, and Angeli, corresponds with the source listed on the works cited page. Now I only have one source for demonstration purposes, but you'll notice that the last names of the authors, Russell, Brizzi, and Angeli, are the first things that we see in this citation. And that's how we know where this came from. So whatever the first thing listed on your works cited page is for each source, that is what needs to be in your parenthetical reference. Now if you don't have an author's name, it may be the title of the article. If you don't have an article title or an author, it might be the title of a website, etc. We can go into that more detail later on. So this is how you would indicate it's a direct quote and place the parenthetical reference. Notice that with a direct quote, you close the quote, then insert the parenthetical reference, then insert the ending punctuation. Finally, a word about how much space to put between words and ending punctuation. When I was growing up, I was taught to put 2 spaces after every period, after the end of every sentence. And I worked very hard at doing that consistently. Then when I got to college, I was told only use 1 space. I think it's more common today to use just 1 space after a period. For example, right there, there's 1 space before the word see. However, some people still prefer to use 2. It isn't incorrect one way or the other. The MLA handbook says that you can do it either way. The most important thing is to be consistent. I think it's more economical. It saves space to use only one space. I think it looks nicer, so that's what I try to teach my students. But I don't penalize people for doing it the other way. So I said finally, but there's one more thing I want to show you. The Works Cited page begins on the very last page of the document. So you'll notice that there's space here. There's all this space after the word essay. I can't highlight it, but you'll see it's half a page or so. But even though there's that space, the Works Cited page begins on the top of a fresh page. Okay, that's a convention of MLA style, and that's the way you should learn to format your MLA papers. This is the second thing that's centered in this document. The words Works Cited are centered at the top of the page. Notice that it's still double-spaced, and this information is a complete citation for the source that I used up above. It's from the Purdue OWL. And this particular kind of paragraph is called a hanging paragraph because this first line hangs out, okay? And the second line, or you could say the second line hangs in, however you want to look at it. And there are a couple of different ways to create a hanging paragraph that we can go over in another screencast. Thank you very much. I hope this helps you understand how to format an MLA paper.